So the latest maintenance task that I had to do on Molly is to deal with the shower pump, which is pulling water out of the shower tray and kicking it overboard, or actually not. So since she was launched this spring, discovered it wasn't working. Now, might seem like a relatively small item, but it's quite important. When we usually wash the head out with the shower head, and then we can, it's an easy way of washing it down before we go, and then just drain the water out. Unfortunately, that's not been happening. So here's the head. So you can see, quite compact. So we've got the shower head here, lifts out, so you can have a sitting down shower, which we've done a couple of times, but not that often. But it's really useful for just giving the whole sea toilet a wash, and then the water goes into the tray and is pulled out by a pump. So I've had to take the pump out and investigate why it's not pumping. It's pretty inconvenient to remove the pump, so decided to change all the serviceable parts, and I managed to find two kits. So there's a diaphragm kit which comes with all of these parts, and then there's a valve chamber kit that comes with those parts. This kit comes with quite a useful exploded diagram. The ones I found on the web are really low quality, so I'm quite pleased to see a more detailed diagram to help me with the repair of the pump. To do this job, you're going to need an 8mm socket and a crosshead screwdriver, a 3mm hex key, maybe a pair of pliers. Having removed the pump from the locker, it's quite easy to get the head off. So there are these 4 bolts which are removed using an 8mm socket. Don't need to take the bolts all the way off, just slacken them off and the head comes away. And then inside here we've got the workings. So these are the diaphragms here, and this piece, which is looks pretty easy to replace. And then here we've got the pistons and this diaphragm seal here. Now it's not obvious how to get this off. If you slide off these feet, they act as a keyway to get a hex key in, and so you have to need good light for this. I can't easily show you on camera, but you rotate the pump until you can see the little nut in there, and when you've found it, you put your hex key in there and slacken it off. Again, don't remove it, just need to slacken it off enough to take the head off. I had to put quite a lot of force on it actually. When I opened it up, I found that there was some nut lock fluid on it, so I know this is probably not good practice, but I used a pair of pliers to get a little bit more leverage, because you're working through here, you can't use this end, so because you're working through there, I just used just a moderate amount of force just to break that thing, and then it came apart very easily. See, that comes off really easy, and you can see here that is the recess into which the grub screw fits. There's the grub screw. There's no way that you're getting this piece off without having to do this procedure. And if you look inside, you can see we've got 4 rather corroded looking screws, but I've got spares provided in the kit, so all of this half can now come off, and I can replace that like for like. From this side, remove the pistons. all of those parts in the service kit. For reassembling, there's a crease in this part, so you can just bend it along that slightly, and that fits it into the bottom housing. So coming over onto this side, the next thing to fit is the diaphragm, which goes in like so, and there are these 4 pistons that push through. The piston has a hexagonal face to it, and that hexagonal section fits into the recess on this part. So we push these through so they're in, and then on this side they need to be just engaged in place. Just need to make sure they've gone all the way in. You can feel them sort of pop in place when they've... So once these are in, they are unable to rotate because of the hexagonal section, and finally this part goes onto the back here, and we put our new screws through into the pistons. Tumbling now. Line up the grub screw with the little recess, and then tighten that up into the base. That's nice and tight into the shaft of the motor. Now I can continue assembling the rest. Before reassembling, I'm going to take these little cone shaped washers off. I think they probably help to make a seal against the inside of the head. They look in pretty good shape actually, but I'll put the new ones on because I've got them. So 4 of those slot on that way around, so that the cone, actually this does feel softer than the one I've just taken off, so it's obviously hardened with age. So that cone will sit in this recess in the head to make a seal. Another thing worth pointing out is on here there's an O-ring. So O-ring is supplied in the kit, so using a new one obviously on this new part to make sure that that gives a good seal, and then that seals against this ring here on the pump head. So these bolts come through like that, and the whole thing on this diaphragm. There are grooves that match recesses in the pump head here, so when assembling I've just got to make sure that all of these match up nicely, and then the bolts just screw through into the lower half of the pump and clamp it all together to give us a watertight seal. We can put these together, and I want this to all line up. Now obviously I've made a rookie error here. Forgotten to put the feet on before attempting to reassemble, so while I've got some play, I'll whack those on. Obviously the whole thing has to line up before the bolts will go back into their holes. So I'll just, surfaces are properly lined up, and I'm just gradually tightening it down. These were really tight when I undid them the first time, because obviously all of this clamping together is what gives the seal on the pump. So one trap for the unwary when reassembling the head onto the body is to ensure that the ports are correctly aligned. So obviously if you have it, it'll fit together rotated through 90 degrees, but if that doesn't match your hoses, and particularly if you're in an enclosed space where it's fitted, it won't work. So you need to make sure that the pipe connectors are aligned with the mounting points on the motor. This definitely didn't happen to me. Well, I've learnt several interesting things during this exercise. I now understand how the shower tray pump works, and it's been fully serviced. I've had it apart and checked, and that's all good. However, that wasn't the source of the problem. When I was trying to diagnose it, I didn't feel there was very much suction on the pump, and I checked that the filter was clean, but I had assumed, having had a cursory look at the pipes, that they were all good, when in fact there was a small hole in one of the pipes, which was just where the Jubilee clip was, so it was letting a bit of air in and preventing the pump from priming. So oddly enough, it was probably unnecessary to dismantle the pump, but it's done now, and the system's fixed, and now we can pump water out of the shower tray, no problems at all.